Okay, so today I have John Gaenzler from Artist Verified, and he's agreed to participate in today's Founders Predicament podcast. So, first of all, John, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Ray.
And really, the first question I have for you is like, how did you get into becoming a startup founder, and what led you to this? So could you talk about your career before Artist Verified?
Absolutely. So, I'm, as you can see in the background, I'm a musician, and I've been a musician for my whole life. So, my first, career choice was to play music, and I did that professionally until I was about 30, and then I decided that the life of a struggling musician wasn't all that it's cracked up to be, and I'd rather be a semi-professional musician and still make music, but also have another career path as well, which led me to the music industry. And I started out in ticketing. My first real job was with Ticketmaster. So I developed a background in ticketing early on. I was there for 7 years. And at about the point of 7 years, I decided I wanted to work more closely with artists. So I found an opportunity to go to a startup called Artist Arena, where I was basically the first hire. And Artist Arena was essentially the first artist services company, serving artists and bands and solo artists and basically any type of music entity, as a artist to fan service provider. So we were the first company to do VIP ticketing. We were one of the first companies to do pre-sales for artists. So Warner Music Group in 2011 decided they wanted to take our services in-house, and they bought the company. So Artist Arena was sold, and the sale was completed in 2012 to Warner Music Group. And at that point, I worked for Warner in-house for about a year. And at that point, they decided they wanted to kind of cut back the team and kind of run things the way they wanted to. So I was let go, as well as the original CEO of Artist Arena and a couple of the other high-level team members. And at that point, I kind of,
let
I'm
me just
sorry.
let me just ask you, because that's interesting. So you got laid off by Warner. Were they trying to just shut you down to basically, like, frequently large companies take out smaller companies in the same space in order to eliminate competition, and then they shut down that service because it's not what they want to do? Was it one of those, or was it something a bit different?
Yeah, no, it was a bit different. They definitely wanted to utilize our services, but I originally we worked with any artist on any label. And I think they saw the value that we provided, as well as being, a profitable business. And for them, it's like, this makes sense for them to take this in-house.
So how did that make you feel? Like, you started this thing, you sold it, so presumably you made some money, and then you were asked to continue to run it, and then you were let go. So that's like a real roller coaster of emotions. So would you care to talk a little bit about, like, how you felt when you were acquired, and then how you felt when I mean, you've talked about how you didn't quite fit in, but then how you felt when you were let go, and what?
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, there was some, there was some hurt feelings. I mean, for me, it was, it shouldn't have been unexpected. And, I think what where they kind of missed was the connection that we had with all the people that we hired. So for me, that was the hard part, is that we built this team of great people, and we felt responsible for them. And now, it didn't look great for the people who started this business and, brought them up, nurtured them in their careers to be let go by their new employer. So I think my personal feelings were more of, just kind of sadness about not being able to be there for them. But then at the same point, the other side of that for me was that I didn't really enjoy working in that environment. So it was somewhat being set free. And I did more. At that point, I decided I was going to do something more along the lines of what I really believed.
So when was that that you
That
were
was
let?
that was 2012.
Okay, so that you got like another 10 years before
Yes. Yep.
Artist Verified was
Well,
started.
Artist Verified is only a year in.
Right.
So in between that, so what I did at that point, I started my own LLC to consult and work projects. And that's what a lot of people in my situation do, is they take an opportunity to leverage what they know and what they're good at, and take it to their contacts and say, listen, I'm not here anymore, but I would love to help you out. We've worked together, and I believe that I can really help you grow your business. One of the companies that I reached out to was the back end technology provider of Artist Arena. So they asked me to be their music facing business development person. And I did that on a contract at first, and then I became a full-time employee there for 2 years. And at the same time, it also gave me an opportunity to be around my daughter, because I worked from home for that entire period. So I was essentially the primary caregiver of my daughter between when she was 4 and essentially it still is.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I mean, definitely when nannies weren't available or somebody bailed on pickup, I was always there because I could just say to my colleagues, look, can you look after my 3 o'clock meeting or whatever, and they'd take care of it, and I'd just rush down and swoop up my son.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot to be said for that kind of flexibility. I think everybody's experiencing that now, or has experienced it, because of the COVID pandemic, and it's
Yep.
more flexibility than some people like. And certainly some of the, I mean, maybe not in your case, but in a lot of cases, there's a degree of isolation and loneliness with this freedom and working from home, which is not everybody's cup of tea. Do you get out a lot to meet people when you're doing this kind of work?
Yeah, I mean, I really do. I'm in, well, when I was doing, the consultancies and things, I would be in their office, at least twice a week. And, I felt like, what I missed about, being around people all the time. I actually, it didn't come close to the benefit of the flexibility that I had. So, I'm a social person, so whether I'm in a room with somebody or on a Zoom with somebody, or hanging out with, my daughter and talking to somebody, I don't feel, I rarely feel lonely.
Okay,
I haven't felt that way in many, many years.
that's great. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's talk about Artist Verified now. So, what made you think about it, and what problem? So, tell us what it is,
Okay.
and then tell us how you came to that, arrived at that idea.
Sure. So I guess I'll tell what it is, and how I arrived at the idea at the same time. So basically, during COVID, up until the COVID period, most of my clients were either ticketing companies or companies directly affiliated with the live music industry. So when that stopped during COVID, so did my contracts. And at that point, I kind of felt like I wanted to take a step in a slightly different direction away from the ticketing, because it was just, I didn't feel like I was really learning anything, and I love to learn new things. So I really was kind of fascinated with blockchain, and what was happening with blockchain and music. And I really, took the opportunity during COVID to learn blockchain and study what it is, how it works, what the opportunities are. And I saw, how it was first applied in the music industry with NFTs. And I understood why, but to me, there was more that blockchain had to offer to the music industry that wasn't about selling NFTs. And specifically, digital identity, I found to be something that was fascinating in the context of Web 2 moving into Web 3, and the issue that artists faced during COVID, which was, how do we make money when we don't know who our fans are and how to reach them, because we're dependent on connecting in the live environment. So when you take a step back and look at how artists and fans connect and engage, it's basically they use, the 10 or 15 platforms that they're kind of forced to use, because they don't own a direct relationship with their fans through any type of platform designed specifically for that.
Let me stop you there for
Sure.
a second. So you talk about these 10 or 15 different platforms. Which of those currently is the most used? Would it be Instagram, or would it be Facebook, or
By artists? I mean,
by
if
artists?
you take out email, definitely Instagram for music artists, followed probably by Facebook. TikTok is big now with certain genres of music. Some artists use SMS text to communicate with their fans. Some artists use platforms like Discord, have communities out there.
So how can you measure the efficacy of these different things? I mean, I'm sure like larger bands will have a social media manager who does everything from email outreach to Instagram posts.
Right.
And then you're telling me they don't know, they're just like dropping pebbles in a well and they don't know what,
Exactly. Yeah. You
what's
don't.
going to come back.
Yeah, no, there's really, I mean, across the board, the metrics are not there to really determine the efficacy of any type of outreach other than, if you're sending an email, the people opened it. Okay. If you post on Facebook, you might get likes. You might see how many people viewed it. But in general, it's, when you target your blast on any of these social media platforms, A, you have to pay for it. And then B, you don't know, if the people saw it or not. So there's really no way to measure the success or failure of those type of initiatives.
Okay, now let's talk about how your platform solves those issues.
Sure. So our platform is designed for direct communication with your fans based on the fans opting to be there.
You mentioned it's free for artists. Is it also free for fans?
It will be free for fans initially. We are the plan is for it to be a freemium model where if as a fan you want to be able to do certain things like gated pre-sale opportunities or unique content opportunities with the artists that you follow.
Are there any privacy issues with I know there's new laws coming into place in I think Connecticut, California, and can't remember where else, but one of the other states beginning with a C.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any privacy issues about the information you're sharing with the bands?
No, because we will ask the fan to opt in to share that data at every point. So our fan module is based on self-sovereign identity. So you establish your digital identity on the blockchain, and you decide what pieces of information about yourself you are willing to share with those artists that are on our platform that you follow. So
What size of bands are you? I mean, what kinds of bands are you attracting at this point?
So, we're building the MVP right now. So our band and artist outreach it's been at a very high level, more about getting flagship type artists. And but the platform itself really is, we want to get the Coldplays and Taylor Swifts of the world on the platform, but it's not really designed for them. It's designed for artists that are growing their fan base.
So your marketing efforts at the moment are strictly to artists, and will continue to be to artists. Is that correct?
At this point, yes. Once we launch our MVP, every artist in the world, well, about 40, the top 40,000 artists at a minimum will already have profiles on our platform.
Okay, so what would you consider what would success look like for you?
Success for me, I mean, this project is more of a personal project than really financial for me. So success is a platform that I helped create, making a better impact on the music industry, and taking a lot of the noise and third party, people getting the cut that don't necessarily need to be there out of the equation, and letting artists really control their careers and their career longevity. So really kind of saying artists now have the ability to run their own career and business on a platform that is just there for everybody, not partner with this label or this third party platform to help you grow your career. You have all the tools you need. You have the connection with your fans now.
So that's how you would define success. If you could do it again, I mean, I know this isn't your first rodeo and you're only a year in, so it may be a little bit premature to ask this question, but if you were doing it again, what would you do differently? Or do you think you've got everything? Like, do you think?
Okay, so
you've only made minor mistakes so far.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we've made any huge mistakes to this point. I think marketing an idea at the get-go, sometimes it's easy to fall into the trap of trying to iterate the final product and explain, all the things that your vision could be, and really try to do everything for everybody. Whereas sometimes you just need to find out what that basic value proposition is that you see, and really kind of focus on that, and work the way that you market the idea to investors or advisors, really try to be simple, and that's just something that it's not only in business. I'm a writer, so I have a hard time being concise sometimes. And in business, you have to be concise, because people don't have time to listen to a 60-second pitch, unfortunately, in an initial email. Like, you got to be able to get to the point, and you got to hook somebody just based on what you're doing, how are you going to make something better.
So with regard to that, and following up on that, you're saying like you got to focus on the core. So with your minimum viable product, your MVP, what core functionality are you keeping, and what things did you have a really hard time throwing away?
Sure. So
not throwing away entirely, but just, well, we'll defer this until later.
Yeah. So, one of the things about our platform is that we're already 50% or more into the MVP build, and we the strategy we took was to do everything that we thought we would need to have from the ground level. So we have very robust profiles in place for thousands of artists already, and we have the ability to turn things on and turn things off. And we may discover that at the end of the day, that's not what the artists care about. That's not what the fans care about. Maybe they just care about the connections.
So let me ask you a slightly different question now. And I know that you've brought on a partner from our previous conversation. I know you've brought on a partner who's your technical partner, and I think you're splitting it down the middle. You've got 50 each, have 50% of the company. Is that correct?
It's pretty correct. Yeah. I mean, it's about 50%.
You're right. So how has that changed? I mean, obviously it's enabled you to do a lot of things you couldn't probably do on your own, but so that's the advantage. What other effects has that had on your approach to the business? Are there any things you've had to leave behind because they really don't like it, or anything like that?
Well, it's interesting because I'm like, when you ask the question, I'm like thinking, man, why I am so lucky to have my partner that I have, because he's been doing the technical design and development for years, just like I have in the music side, and he's been CTO for numerous companies and been companies that have sold, and he has the experience not only on the technical side but just on the executive level side, more so than I have, and he's very adept at that side of the business, which I should be, and but this is my first corporation that I've started, and it's different. There's a lot of things you need to learn,
You can't know,
but also
you can't know everything. It's just not.
no, you can't, and you got to be open-minded, and you got to be prepared to understand that there's so much that you don't know, but on the technical side, he really, like, I had a call early on when it was just me with somebody, and they're like, it was a service provider. It wasn't even like an investor. And they're like, hey, I'm just going to give you some advice. They're like, I'm not even going to talk to you again until you have a CTO. And because you can't do this on your own. You don't understand what you're trying to build. And he was right. And at that moment, I put out ads for a CTO. I interviewed many people, and I was really kind of shocked at the level of interest I had from people that were seriously established and experienced, some willing to leave high-paying gigs to do this. And I found my partner, who happens to be in Brisbane, Australia, and the way that he expressed his interest in a very technical way, which was very thought out and compelling, and it took him a good amount of time to do, and then speaking to him, it was like, this guy is exactly what I'm looking for. And
so I didn't realize he was in Australia. So have you guys ever met?
no.
Oh, right. So when are you planning on meeting at some
We
point?
will meet, but it's funny because this is kind of like what happens today. Like, we talk, at least, face to face on Zoom, at least 7 times a week, whether it's on a call with somebody else, or we always have 2 weekly meetings, and then we talk on Slack all day long. So I feel like we know each other pretty well. Probably more so than some people that work in offices together. And although I'm looking forward to meeting him in person, I don't feel like it's been a hindrance to our business. As a matter of fact, like, the way the time zone difference actually works great for us, because we connect at the beginning and end of our days, And then for the other time, somebody's always working on this project. So it's a 24-hour-a-day project going on. We also have contracted designers working for us in different parts of the world as well. So it's been really interesting having a partner that I haven't met, but I have found zero negative impact from that.
That's really interesting. I was going to ask you about the time zone, but you already answered that question.
Yeah.
So I get the idea, like, this is your passion project as well. So I'm guessing there's no exit strategy. You just want to keep doing this.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's like the last thing that I'm thinking about. And you know, at the end of the day, my exit would be when I don't feel when I feel like the idea and the ethos of the project continues without me. And without my partner. You know, this is about making the music space better, because there's so many factors and so many problems that exist just because of the way that the music industry has developed over time. And technology has really opened the door for a much better way for artists to have a career and, you know, engage their fans, and for fans to really be able to feel connected to, you know, artists.
So let me ask you one final question. So this podcast is, you know, the Founders Predicament is aimed at, you know, people who are, you know, in a fresh startup or who want to leave their job and do a startup. So given that it's really, I mean, I know it's your first CEO role, but you have been in startups before, startup that was acquired, and then you did another startup. What advice would you give someone who's about to take the plunge and develop their idea? What would you say? Like, how would you caution them, and how would you encourage them? What should they go for, and what should they avoid?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think, you know, is important is not to be afraid to share your idea with other people. You know, don't worry that somebody's going to take your idea and do it on their own. Just if your idea is right, and if your idea is going to be successful, it's because of you, and you have to believe in that. So, you know, from a, you know, big picture status, I would just say, you know, believe in what your product can be, and bring other people into it, so that you know, you can't do it on your own. That's for sure. And the more people you have, the more advocacy you have, the more chance of being successful you'll have. So that's kind of the big picture advice I have. But also, like, be open-minded to how understand that your idea, you know, might seem like perfect right as is, but it could change over time, and it could be turn into something completely different that you may not even understand, and you got to be open to that too. So,
well, so thank you so much, John.
my pleasure.
So this was John Gaenzler from Artist Verified, and I'm Ray Shah, and this is the Founders Predicament. And thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Ray. Thanks for having me.